All right, let's go ahead and call the meeting of the Maury County Board of Education to order. Members, you've got a copy of the agenda for this evening. Are there any changes? Hearing none, then I need a motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Renda,
Second.
second by Dwayne, all in favor? It is approved. I'm gonna ask you if you would to please stand. Kelly's gonna lead us in the pledge of inspiration.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, God, and we thank you for the rain that you've given us over the past few days. Lord, we just thank you for letting us come here tonight, Lord, and we just pray that we can be good stewards of our the money that you you give this county, God, and pray for the teachers and the students this summer, Lord, that you're watching over the students and that you will prepare the teachers' hearts for this upcoming next year. Lord, just go with us and be with us. In your precious name we pray. Amen.
All right, next item is the consent items. You've got a copy of the minutes for May the 2nd. Actually, 2 meetings that day, or we got the budget hearing and the work session. Then you've got for May the 6th and May the 20th. Are there any changes or any questions on those? All right, hearing none, the next we have recognitions, and Tara, I think you're handling Helping Hands.
First, I just wanted to ask, does everybody know what Helping Hands Ending Hunger is? Okay. All right, 4 of our schools started food pantries this year. And so I wanted to take the opportunity to recognize all of their hard work and the big impact they made on our students and their families' lives. So just going to do a little bit about Helping Hands. It's a nonprofit corporation with an inspired vision to alleviate childhood food insecurity, reduce food waste, encourage better educational outcomes, and shape a healthier world. It's innovative Kids Helping Kids program empowers student leaders to repurpose uneaten food from school meals and join hands with their communities to nurture food insecure families. It's a whole family approach. It encourages to reduce stigma about food insecurity in the school. It really changes the school climate, and it develops a big parent school engagement piece. And so it's a great thing that schools start. And if you look at the numbers this year, it really made a huge impact. Chatsworth fed 1,157 families. Out of that, 1,999 were children. There was 1,157 adults fed. Food bags given out, 640. The pound of food that was repurposed was 13,359. And the COT2E 9,168, and the meals that they provided was 14,867. I mean, that's huge. Eton, 260 families fed, 948 children, 646 adults, 640 bags food distributed, pounds of food saved, 20,013, 16,410 meals given out. Look at Spring Place, 954 families fed, 3,012 were kids, 2,103 adults, 37 food bags distributed, food saved, 11,212. And I'm missing y'all's meals. I'm sorry, Carla didn't send me that, so I'm missing that. Woodlawn, 302 families, 914 children, 625 adults. Pounds of food repurposed, 12,093, with 9,783 meals provided. So to me, those numbers speak volumes of what we've done, these 4 schools have done this year. Audrey Allen participated in Dancing with the Stars, and she raised $39,000 for this program. We could not have started all of this without her being really a champion and raising that money. So I just want to say thank you so much. And Spring Place put together a little video.
Hi, I'm Bert Ridley, and I
I'm the assistant principal at Spring Place Elementary School, and this year we've had the pleasure of working with the Helping Hands Ending Hunger Pantry, and it's been a great opportunity to see our students really participate in giving back to the community that surrounds our school. I've watched them pack bags, I've watched them put things in our pantry and line them up so that they can go out to families that are in need, and it's been such a worthwhile experience to watch our kids participate in.
We're really thankful for Helping Hands Ending Hunger because it has helped our families in lots of different ways. Families have reached out to me that have experienced loss in several different ways, loss of jobs, loss of family members. And this is just a good program that has stepped into our school, and our kids have really enjoyed it. It's a great way to help the families and give them the support and resources that they need.
I volunteered for this program because as a child, I came from a very low income family, and sometimes there wasn't very much to eat at our house. So I wanted to volunteer and help others. And I know that this program helps so many of our kids, and I find it rewarding to be able to help them.
But I volunteered for the Helping Hands program because I felt pulled toward it, that I needed something that I needed to do. And I really enjoy doing it every week because I enjoy helping the families at Spring Place and doing anything that I can for them.
I volunteer with the Helping Hands because I have children in my classroom who benefit from this resource. And it's wonderful every day how Fridays they get their bags and they're so excited to go home and know they have food for the weekend.
I got the food bag because it had mashed potatoes, sweet bread, and turkey, and corn, and green beans. I like getting the food bag because I like to eat the muffins. I like getting the food bags because I like the muffin and the yogurt. I like the yogurt and the muffins and the cheese sticks. And I like them, and my mom cuts them.
Hey, I'm Rachel Brindle, and I supervised student council this year working in our food pantry, and watching our student council take ownership and leadership and help other students has just really increased my love for our school and changed my life.
I like coming down to the pantry because it lets me have a good time for the start of the day, lets me help other people, and it lets me hang out with my friends.
I enjoy working in the food pantry because I know I'm helping others who need it more than other people do.
I like working in the food pantry because I get to organize canned goods and milk. I like to help other people who really need food, and I love to take out the trash in the pantry.
I like working in the food pantry because I like to know that I can open up to anybody and I feel safe with my friends and we can always have fun.
I like coming to the pantry because I am in charge of the bags and I love being in charge. And I get to help other kids. I love being able to help people that don't have food.
Hi there, I'm Amelia Bryan, the principal of Spring Place Elementary, home of the Tigers. This year we had the opportunity to partner with Helping Hands Ending Hunger and bring a food pantry here for our students. Being able to help so many families has been such a great gift and blessing here at Spring Place. We are all about meeting our students' needs and want to help their families, and so we are just thrilled that we have been able to do that this year.
Thank you, Helping Hands Ending Hunger.
So this is just some of the comments from the recipients, and the one that stood out to me, he said, for the first time ever on Thanksgiving, my family had a real turkey to eat. We ate turkey, mashed potatoes, macaroni and cheese, and sweet bread. I really liked having this food. Thank you, Helping Hands. I mean, so a family got to experience a Thanksgiving meal for the first time because of Helping Hands. I talked with Carla, or emailed her earlier this week, and she said she wanted Murray County to know that we are a model for the state. She shared with us shared with the North Georgia Recess STEM Conference this past week what we're doing here, talking about food waste rescue and food insecurity. Everyone was really impressed what Murray County's doing, and she said someone from the DOE kind of recognized and was very happy with the collective work that everybody's doing. Some of this is just comments from the workers, or the students who work this. I think it's important to point out, in his comment, he says, it also was a safe place for me to really open up and talk about anything that was on my mind. And if you read Ms. Brindle's, you get emotional because it's so touching. I've worked alongside with 6th grade students this entire year serving in our school's food pantry. I feel that I have formed a true relationship with each and every one of them. Throughout this year, we have spent a lot of time together. We have worked hard Worked hard, laughed, cried, shared stories, made connections, supported one another. I honestly feel that I have made a difference in their lives. This program has made a difference in their lives. They needed me at times, and I can truly say that I needed them too. We have become more than just coworkers, we've become family. This is one of the lunchroom workers. For the first time ever, we do not have to watch unopened food be thrown in the trash. Due to nutritional requirements, at times students may have to take food items that they may not eat. It's nice to see that the unopened items and fresh fruits they do not open or eat can now be used to save for the pantry. And just this one, it allowed me to take a break from class and working to help me de-stress. One of our bus drivers. I've enjoyed being a small part of the delivering food for the students on my bus. I'm grateful for the program and providing food for students in need and making a difference in those students' lives. And the 4 principals, if you're here, I just would like for y'all to come up too. But the 4 principals who truly made this happen: Audrey Allen at Chatfield Elementary. Come on in. Eton, Elizabeth Selvage, Spring Place, Dr. Brock. Elementary was Pam Rich. And I want to say thank you to the heroes, because y'all truly are heroes, because there's a lot of our kids who would not eat at night if it weren't for you guys. And so y'all are heroes in this community, and I just want to say thank you to y'all. Chatsworth, Donna Leonard, and Regina Glass. I don't know if they're here. Regina, come on up. It's not much, it's just a little thank you. I just want y'all to know how much I appreciate everything y'all do. At Eton, Shelley Falls, Ben Massengale, Jasmine Newby, Beth Harden, Cherie Brundage, and Laura Garcia. At Spring Place, we have Rachel Brindle, Lindsay Johnson, Shelley Chastain, Reba Howard, and Kayla Collins. And for Woodlawn, Nita Young, Erin Bean, Christy Campbell, and Pam Rich. Come on. I'm just so thankful that these 4 schools took the journey to truly meet the needs of our kids, because if they're worried about where their next meal is coming from, they're not able to focus on the day and learn. And so y'all are true heroes in Murray County, and I just want to thank each and every one of y'all. Thank you so much.
Picture right here?
Yes.
Okay, everybody smile.
Thank you.
What's he thinking?
Yes, definitely, thank you for all your help you do for our students in our school system. We're going to take about a 2 to 3 minute break, just let anybody that may want to go, you can go, or if you want to stay for the rest of the meeting. Let's take that 2 to 3 minute break. participation. All right, next item is the superintendent's report.
Okay, the first thing we have under operational and financial effectiveness is our intent resolution. And what that is basically, a couple months ago, we talked about it. The intent resolution comes from the 2023 SPOS that was approved, and, the SPOS, we said, the construction at Murray County High School, the phase of the band room and the gym was contingent upon the SPOS passing. Of course, it passed. So therefore, in order to be able to complete that phase, of course, it's well underway, but, we need to sell some bonds on the SPOS that was approved to continue after the SPOS that was, that they were currently in. So it's basically a revenue certain item that you will have. So this resolution basically is just an intent that you will do a resolution where you will sell some bonds in August. And what this will do, before we sell public placement bonds, so that means the interest rate set, everything's done, you know what you're gonna get, and you sell the bonds and they're electronically traded, and it's done that way. This is done with a private placement because it's a smaller issued amount than, and it's small, I don't mean that usually you gotta get north of $20 million in a debt offering to justify the cost of public or private placement. So therefore, this is going, as we've gone over the source of funds and construction funds available on the current going projects that are underway that are paid from SPOS revenues, which is the Murray County High School concession stand that's finishing up. Northwest is well underway, and it's going, and then the band and gym construction at Murray County High School, which now includes the renovation of a gang of restrooms that inside the school. So with all of that, in order to, so the certain revenue will be, when the next SPOS begins. But this will, off by going ahead and approving the intent to do a resolution, Bryce Holcomb, who is the municipal advisor that was hired a few months back, will then be able to go and start pricing, with various banks as to, stated interest rate and all that based on the given amount of money. So, and I've given you just a brief schedule timeline, and he will be here in, August. At the August board meeting would be the tentative date, and then you would do the official resolution based off the quoted interest rates and everything that he's got, the terms and all that. So, does anyone have any questions in regard to what this intent to do resolution is? Or while we're doing it, everybody, I think we all clear? Okay. All right. With that being said, we'll move on. Dr. Smith is here to go over our SPOS outline, financial statement, purchase orders, budget, and all kinds of things.
Doing something a little different, and putting it up on the screen, so try to follow along with it myself. So the first thing that we'll go over when we get past these notes. There's the resolution Steve was just talking about. Okay, so the first thing that we always talk about is the SPOS collections. So what we'll compare this time is, of course, May of '23 to May of '24. You can see May of '24 came in slightly higher than this time last year. It came in at $421,465.40, compared to May of '23 at $390,118 and some change. So roughly was an increase of around $31,000. If you look back
historically in there, you'll see, May of '22, it was around 436,000. In May of '21, it was around 446. So not quite as high as it was back in '21, but trending about the same, as getting close to where it was in May of '22. So it looks like the SPOS collections are coming back to a normal trend of what they have been in the past. If that collection continues at that pace, there's an estimate of around sometime in June of '26 for that SPOS maximum to be reached. Bryce, as Steve just referred to, he has a little bit more of an analysis that he does on that SPOS collection, and he's watching it very closely. But currently, that's what it is based on this month's collections. Questions? Okay. Moving on, we just closed April. Now that seems odd because you're in June, but that's just the way it works. So at the end of April, that's the amounts that we're going to look at and compare. April of this year compared to April of last year. So if you look around at the financials that are up there, we have around 21 million or so we had collectively in April in assets and liabilities compared to around 23 million this time last year. Difference being cash, you can see, is trending down a little bit. And of course, as we would expect, accrued salaries and some of those things that we try to predict for the summer months are trending higher, as they should. So, so that's where that stands. If we go on and I look at the actual revenues, this is comparing revenues that have some revenue accruals in there. It does have some accruals in there as far as that goes, but we're looking at around, that we've collected around 64 million or so in revenues, and about 88% compared to around 56 million this time last year, which was around 87%. So revenues, you can see we've collected around 97% of local and about 84% of the QBE. Next, let's do the expenditures. The expenditures are the actuals plus the accruals that we have estimated in there for the July and August payrolls. So you can see where this year, this April, we're around $65 million or so in expenses compared to around $56 million in expenses this time last year, around 88% right now compared to 83%. And you'll see why as we get more into the budget. But remember, I've talked about every month we're bringing over things that we weren't paying for that we're paying for now, okay? So you're going to see those percentages continue to widen, okay? And I've got you more on the budget. If you looked at your budget, you've probably already noticed the deficit. But if you look at what it is at the end of April, if you look at, we're just comparing April to April, we've got about $846,385 and some change is our deficit compared to surplus last year of $626,000. So that deficit is actual. It'll continue to increase when we talk about May, June, July, and August. Okay, but that's where it is right now. Any questions on the financials? On your sheet that was in your packet, we had not, the interest had not posted on our investments yet, but as you can see right now on the highlighted ones, it is showing April to April, $29,000 in April of '23 compared to $17,000 in interest in April of '24. I just posted the May, and it was $30,000 of interest in May. So, so May ticked up a lot higher. So we've collected around over $100,000 now with that entry, and around $350,000 in interest overall since we on the ESSER, the balance remaining actually in the grant is around $106,000. I'm gonna scroll on down here towards the bottom so that you can see that out of that $106,000, the school has spent their funds. There is the money that is remaining, we have some options to do with that. We can take $43,000 of those dollars, and we can bring it over as revenues to our general fund. That's the indirect cost. That's the cost that we get to take out of the grant and put over into our general fund revenues as indirect costs for overseeing that grant project. So it's direct revenue on our side. And then I'm going to talk to you about an expense of around $5,900 to continue our eTree software and pay for that out of the CARES grant. And then we'll have a remaining of around $56,000. And so what I want to do with the $56,000 is I want to transfer expenses from the general over to CARES, such as janitorial expenses. It can't just be anything. It has to be something pertaining to the grant. So we know that we've done this in the past, that we've been able to take janitorial expenses and we've been able to move those over to CARES and take them off the expense for us and put them on the CARES expense, which lowers our expenditures and spends up the rest of that money. So that's what we'll do by June 30th, and that'll be a zero balance the next time we talk about it. Okay, any questions on that so far? This is just a continuation of what I just continue to do, is to show you how that money was spent. You know, you think that how can we spend $21 million over the last 3 years? Well, you can. My husband would say I could probably do it in about 3 months. But, you know, we've done a lot of great things with that money, and it's benefited, put Murray County way ahead on lots of different areas: curriculum, Chromebooks, you know, textbooks, equipment. And early on, it helped to pay for intervention in our teachers. Next, we'll talk about some purchase orders. So on the purchase orders, the first one there is a school nutrition purchase order. It is, I'm assuming this is your point of sale. This is her point of sale software. She's just like the rest of us. Software is gonna come due. They like for all the software bills to hit all at the same time, unfortunately. But this is for the point of sale software. At one time she had Horizon, and you jumped off that and got on this new software. So this is gonna come out of the school nutrition fund, $25,678.52. The next one is the software that we use here, HR, finance. We use it at the school level. That is how we do all of our onboarding. That's how we do all of our payment verifications now. There's so much inside of that software that we use, and it benefits several departments. You know, technology forms, we have all kinds of things that we run through this eTree and the SoftDoc. So this bill is a little bit different in the sense that it is due June the 23rd. So this bill is going to be paid for out of 24 money. It is $425, and in the budget that we are going to pass, I have the 26 bill and the 25 budget. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So I'm paying for part of this. I can only pay 2 months of this software out of CARES. Otherwise, I'd take it all out there, but I can't because it can't exceed the life of the grant. Remember, you can't go past September. So I can only take, I've divided the cost by 12, and I'm able to take 2 months out of CARES. So I'm going to split it and take that $5,000 I just talked about out of the CARES money. The rest of it's going to come out of the general fund. Okay? And this is also where all the employees get their pay stubs, their W-2s, all that. Okay? Next year, it will all come out of local, of course, but it's in the budget to come out there next year. The next three are FY25 purchases. They're going to be paid for in FY25, correct? Right? but they have to be approved, and we have to do a purchase order. This makes, we gotta do a purchase order, so we're gonna go ahead and have these ready to pay for July 1st, FY '25. So GaggleNet, Infinite Campus, GaggleNet is the Google filter. The next one is Infinite Campus, that's the hosting, the licensing, the parent, portal, the shout out that does the calls, is that correct?
Right.
And all of that's included in the 77,000. And the Apogee is the district website, that new district website that lots of districts have started using now. So all of those are included in your FY '25 budget, okay? So that cost is included on there, so when we pay for these in July, they're actually gonna be covered in the budget as part of the software. Okay, sure.
On this, I can't hardly see my, the GaggleNet, it's a web filler, I mean, explain that to me, what do we use it for?
Gaggle is the one that we use that alerts the counselors, the admins, and even the SROs when there is a crisis with students. So if they've had something like keywords like suicide or drugs on their, any of their Google stuff, it alerts us to know that they're writing about it or searched it or something, and it gets it to us so that we can see what they've done or what they've looked up and alerts us. So it's a security, mental health. We work with Tara
And it's monitored
Jones.
24 hours a day, so we
And so even on the
respond
weekends,
after
they can
hours.
respond to 911 if there's an immediate threat to a student, suicide, something like that.
Does it have to be something that they've done on their Chromebook?
Not on the Chromebook, but in their student account.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so anything in their student account, all right.
Yeah.
Email, document, it could be
Email, yeah.
anything. They could do it and kind of take it away,
Right,
and you
yeah.
can still see it.
Yeah.
Have we seen a benefit to it?
Yes. Tara, how many suicide immediate ones that have we went out and done?
I would have to go back and look at all of them, but I mean, there have been several that or not several, that we have, sent welfare checks out quite a bit to make sure that the kids are safe.
Because it'll alert you. There's multiple different alerts. One alert is just an email that goes to all of the admins and the SROs to let you know, hey, this is concerning, you just need to check on it. So it's not time sensitive. But there's also
The possible student situations are.
an alert
immediate.
that's
We have
time
to respond
sensitive, and they will
immediately.
actually call you and say, hey, someone needs to do a well check now.
So on the school level.
He said they've had two at his school where they've been sent for psych evals.
So if it's
That
sent to
can
the
be
principals, I guess the principals do talk to the counselors about it, and the counselors see it.
The counselors get it, the principals get it, and the SROs get it, as well as us up here at the central office. So there are multiple points of contact.
Get them daily.
That's fine, so you
Can I also
either
do-
say, you may not all check on them, because it may not be as immediate or whatever. but-
Now, the counselors check on all of them, but it's not time sensitive, those every day.
But even with the possible student situations, like if Gaggle does not hear back within 5 minutes, they contact our 911 and send them out to check. So yeah, I mean, it's,
And the SROs are the after hours, weekend point of contact first responders for us.
I just had to ask, because we're basically a lot of money, but everything.
I will say it has caught things that we would not have caught had we not had Gaggle.
Any more questions? Past that, you have, behind all these, you have copies of the POs, and you also have copies of the quotes, I think are also in your packet. Showing you the breakdown of those expenses. If you want to look at that, you also have one, FYI in there in your packet as well for police supply. Some lights and dimmers.
What were those? Does it say what school or?
No, the one for Glaze Supply is, if you remember back, we were doing the LED changeouts. And so there were two different styles. There was what you're looking at here, which is a 2x4 and a smaller 2x2. When we were going through the schools, we were changing can lights, and we kind of adjusted how we were putting lights in and changed. We wound up putting more
of this style, the 2x4 end and the 2x2, so it left me with an excess of 2x2 lights. So what I need, what you're looking at is the difference. I'm gonna swap the 2x2s that I have for 2x4s, and there's a price difference there. So we're talking, it's, you know, I think 1,213 or 14 lights. It's a lot of lights, but I wanna send the 2x2s back and swap them for 2x4s.
And this is just the difference between.
That's the difference between the two light fixtures is what it is.
They're not charging us restocking fees?
No, they are not.
Okay. Any more questions on the financials? Steve, you want me to bring yours up next?
Yeah, just bring before we talk about the budget, this kind of, you know, we're talking about budgets, and we met this morning, you know, with budgets, and just a historical perspective, looking back over the last 15 years, and you can see about, I mean, the revenues, expenses, and I just bring that since, you know, this is my last work session, the last budget I'll do, but keeping in mind going forward, you can see, you know, like where the fund balance was, where it's been. You can see prior to COVID there how it increased, and we knew it would increase because the direct result of that was, as Kathy talked about, $21 million of federal money, and we shifted things over to CARES. So therefore, our general fund budget built up. Now, then we knew that, you know, everything comes to an end. A lot of those things that we did start during with the CARES money, like elementary art teachers, bilingual positions at each of the schools, all those things. Now, as they expire, we fully exhausted all that money. Now we're bringing them back into the general fund, which was the plan, you know, all along, so that fund balance, you know, starts going down. And you can see that, you know, historically, it's, you know, 21% for a fund balance in 2023, that's high, but we knew what's coming as we talked about all these things that we were gonna do, and what they would, you know, phase out, things that we could do, things that we'd wanna keep. You know, we went 1-to-1, we did that, we bought, you know, computers, you know, for Chromebooks. In January of this year, paid out of the general fund that we could, you know, use in future years, and then seeing what that technology plan is going to be going forward. But I just say all that to say, just, you know, the fund balance was planned to start shrinking up. Your ending fund balance was always the plan. And anytime you can just going forward historically, if you're anywhere from an 8 to 12% of your fund balance, ended fund balance, if that's an 8 to 12% of your total expenditures for the year, that's pretty common. And if you look back, you know, there was a whole lot of years there that I would not recommend going back there, because that'll make you live on the edge of your seat, especially if you're the finance person. But when you have those years where you're ending with a 1% fund balance, I would never want to go back to those. But you know, but just looking in there from, you know, 14, 15, you know, even in there, you're at 5%. Well, you're a whole lot better shape financially today than we were in 14, 15, 16. You know, it starts going up, and then, you know, COVID hit, and it, you know, it really shot up. So you just keep every, you know, historical perspective is where you gotta be, you know, because nothing changes. Everything in a snapshot in time, but you gotta have a plan, you know, for what you're gonna do. So I just did that as you know, we know we're gonna have a budget that we're gonna spend more this year in the general fund than revenues we took in, which was always the plan. Nothing's new there. We knew that. That's why the fund balance was built up. So in order to continue those things that we were doing. So it's all within, you know, where you're going, and going forward, you know that, you know, fund balances go up, they go down, but anytime you stay within that range, 8 to 12 is pretty good. There's a whole lot of years from 2010 to 2016 that was way below that, and you're gonna be much above that this year. And the budget, if you vote to adopt that, the budget that we've advertised with a few changes, you're gonna be well above. Your financial position is much stronger now than it was, you know, in there from 2010 to about 2016. So you're in good shape to do, and that's good, because you've got options, you've got time to plan and work your plan. So all that is just a historical perspective so that, you know, where you are in a given time, so.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Projected beginning fund balance, 15,678, right?
In 2024.
I'm 24, right? Okay, so then, why, when we had the budget, were we negative 2 million
In what year?
this year? The budget we just finished. Why? If it's there, why do we not balance it? Why do we not zero out?
And spend your expenses?
Well, I don't know if we got, I don't like it, personally, me, if I don't have the money, I'm not gonna spend it.
Mhm.
But it looks like from this, that we got plenty of money,
We do.
15 million.
At the end, at the projected beginning fund balance at 2024 this
Right.
year, and if you look back, behind that is your advertisement, right there, that's one of the last ones. That is, the first one you got is 2007, but if you go back to where we were this time last year, the beginning fund balance at July 1, 2023 was projected to be $15.6 million. That's where that number comes from. That's straight from the public advertisements and budgets that were approved.
I'm sorry, I don't see.
The second to last page.
Right there. That's what,
Okay.
this is what we approved last year at this
Okay.
time, the budget.
Okay.
So what's the question?
Okay, so we have $15 million?
We did at July 1 of 2023.
Okay.
That was the projected amount, yes.
Okay, so what do we have now?
It's around 12.9. That's where your beginning fund balance ended up after the audit for 2024. So we've said, the next column over there, Brenda says the projected ending fund balance could be 10,583. It ended up being 12,998,000, something like that. So we were within like $12,000 of what the projection was.
Okay.
So I think your question is why the revenues equal expenditures?
Yeah, why are we negative 2 million on the budget?
You spent more revenue, your
Then we got
expenses.
money,
No.
then we got in. We spent more
You
than we got
spent
in.
more than you took in, but that's your savings account, that's your ending balance, and the whole time, we knew we'd spend more than we were taking in to spend that balance down to keep all those programs like elementary art and all the things that CARES was paying for. That was the intention.
Okay, so we have in a savings account, say 12.9.
Well, you have collectively, you have cash, you've got investments, you've got the cash in Synovus Bank. That balance, that cash balance changes every minute of every day.
Okay.
I mean, that is always I don't wanna say monopoly money, that doesn't
Yeah.
sound very nice.
That's a fund
But
balance.
that's what I look at it.
If I'm in the private world, that's my retained earnings, that's the capital, that's the ownership that I've got in the district. That's what we got. But from a government standpoint, it's money, it's cash money on your balance.
Okay, so how much money out of that would be, if we had to have money right now, how much do we have?
What I showed, I've got $6 million in investments right now, so I've got about half of it sitting in investments. I've probably got another 4.7 million sitting in a Synovus. You know, I'm within,
So that's like a little over 2 million.
yeah, so I mean, it's.
2 million that you could say.
No,
The 2 million, no, the 2 million.
Well, you said 6 million investments, 4.7 in Synovus, that's 10.7. So then you said we got 12 point, not say 13.
So basically, that is revenues minus expenditures. I don't know really how to explain it. It's,
you got revenues all throughout the year, but you don't have them in any one given time. You don't pay all your expenses at any one given time.
Right.
I couldn't write you a check for 12 million.
But you have to account
Right.
for, in accounting, you have to account for my total revenues and total expenses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to write a $12 million check right now.
I don't think my line's that long.
Okay, so if we talk about the budget, so what we did last time we got together is we went through a really deep dive into the budget. And I'm gonna do that again tonight, except I'm only gonna talk about the things that changed from the last time we talked about it to now, because everything else stayed the same. So I wanted to give the board a summary of what all those changes were, and then I'm going to come back to this in just a few minutes. But this is a summary of all the changes that I'm gonna show them on the actual budget. So here's the breakdown. Here's how it all ended up, if it's approved like it is. We said, when we talked about it last time, we were gonna have around a $78 million budget. So over the course of things, you know, looking at reevaluating things, there's been additions to that of $968,000. And we're gonna go over those. There's also been subtractions to that, which is about $1.4 million. So we're going the right direction, because we took away more than we added. So if we pass the one, or if you pass the one that's being presented, it's at 77.9 million. So we said originally that we thought we were gonna spend, Brenda, more expenditures of 2.1 million, more than we were gonna have revenues.
Right.
Okay? If we, based on the new one with the additions and the subtractions and some revenues over there, you see where I've said revenues were originally at 76 million. I've added 97,000 to those. So now we've got 76.343. So if you take the additions to the revenues, the additions to the budget, take off the subtractions of the budget, you've got a deficit now of about 1.5 million. It's come down from 2.1 to 1.5, which means overall, we netted 591,000 to the good. Okay?
See, the deficit part is what worries me.
It's not a deficit, you're spending more than you took in because you built up your fund balance. You spent for several years, you spent less than you took in.
So the deficit comes because we're not equal as that. We're not saying we're getting 77 million in revenues and we're spending 77 in expenditures. So that's gonna create the deficit. The only way to true those up is to cut expenditures another $1.5 million to match what we estimate revenues to be. So the budget is a budget. What happens after July 1 is what counts. Because after July 1, this is paper, but what counts after July 1 is how much revenues come in and how much expenditures go out. So on paper, you can have a $2.1 million deficit or a $1.5 million deficit. But what you want is to end up with more revenues than you have expenses. That's always the goal.
Yeah.
Okay, but on paper, it looks as though, in order to achieve everything that's in the budget, we're gonna have to spend $1.5 million more than what we're bringing in. Okay. So let's look at the green sheets. This is what we did last year. This is where it shows the deficit that they've been referring to. So these numbers have changed. So the actual budget that we presented last month, or I presented last month, had revenues of 76, 246, 346. So some more revenue money came in on Medicaid. And so I wanted to capture that and say, okay, because the nurses and these therapists are all billing to Medicaid, and they're billing those services, that money is coming into the general fund budget. And it is a large amount of money. I mean, $600,000 plus, okay? A large amount of money. So that number could increase some so that we could capture that additional revenue in the 25 budget. So there's the increase on the revenues. The increase on the actual revenues stayed the same because maybe revenues will come in higher than what I'm projecting. But that's, I hope they come in a lot higher. Okay? So, but that is a conservative budget estimate of what they might be. Now, when we get over here on the expenditure side, the preliminary budget, the 2025 preliminary budget, is going to have the new totals for the new additions and the new subtractions in it. This is a sum total. This is taking the budget, all the functions of that budget, and this is what they are going to be if this budget's passed. Also, on the 2024 side, went back and tried to project with the salaries and the benefits based on those expenditures that came in after we had the budget meeting, another month or so of expenditures, what it might be when we get to the end. So if you look now, for this year, we're showing that our expenditures could be $3.8 million more than our revenues. That is the difference between paying the subs in the local budget, the permanent positions in the local budget, paying the, paying for the Chromebooks we paid out of the local budget. That's paying all those expenditures that we used to be able to use CARES for. That is no longer there. That is art teachers. That is moving all of that expense over to our side of the road. And this is what we're gonna have, we have to pay them. We have to pay them for May, June, July, and August. So this is that projection. It can go higher than that. It can go lower than that. Okay? But at least it gives us a baseline of what we think it's gonna be. Now, if that holds true, then the $12,998,000 is that ending budget from last year minus the actual audit gives us the 12.9. Remember, we thought it was going to be 13, but it ended up being 12.9. So we came within $12,000. So I'll take that all day long. So if we started with 12.9 and we end up spending 3.8 of it, then we're going to be down to 9.1. Okay? So we came over here on the 25 budget and we said, you know, we probably need to dig a little deeper on this side, see if we can cut some more. So came back and we were able to trim that one down from 2.1 down to 1.5. Okay, I'm saying the green sheets from last time to the green sheets of this time. Okay. So if we're able to trim this down to 1.5, then we'll end up, and we start at 9.1, and we could be more than that or we could be less than that. We would end up at 7.6. So these are those percentages where you have 11%, 12% fund balance, and you go down to 9, almost 10%. Granted, it's not as good as it could be, but it's better than it was.
Which puts you about right where you were before COVID. If you go back and look.
So now, I'm gonna hit these really quick, but stop me if you wanna ask a question, stop me. So what I'm doing now is I'm showing you where those additions were. So this is the revenue side. So this is where that additional Medicaid went in FY '25. And I also had some money in the security grant. So we had been told originally we were gonna get $495,000 in security grant money, but then they came back and they added more to it. So now we're gonna get $518,000 in security grant money. So I added revenue to account for the new Medicaid money that I think we're gonna get again next year. And I know we're gonna get the security grant money. So our revenues went up over $90,000 from the last time we talked about them to this time. And I captured that for FY '25, because we want our revenues to go higher than 76 million. But we've got in there what we think QBE, what we've been told QBE is gonna be. And we've got in there what we've collected this year in our local taxes. So unless local taxes revenues come in more, or unless QBE money gets funded additional money, then this is pretty much where the revenues are gonna land. Now, we talked about bond buses and things like that. So if we get notification and Randall says, hey, they're giving me 3 new buses, then QBE money is gonna go up for 3 new buses. But the expenditures are gonna go up to pay for 3 new buses. And remember, they don't give us dollar for dollar. So we may get $100,000 or $88,000 for a bus that costs us $134,000. So if we buy the bus, we gotta pay the difference. Okay?
This equalization grant, how is that determined?
Equalization is based on your ability to pay the 5 meals, right?
Some of it. The state of Georgia every year determines, it's 2 things. It's, they take your total tax digest divided by your student population, and they determine a wealth range. Then they also take into consideration the amount of money that you bring in locally to your district. And they rank you 1 to 108. The top 20% in the state of Georgia get no equalization, such as Gilmer County. They don't get any. We rank about 132 in that range. But if I look at Whitfield County, who ranks at about 152 or 3, they're actually ranked lower than we are, Whitfield County. But they get more equalization per student because the millage rate in Whitfield County is right at 18 meals. 18 meals, the millage rate in Murray County is 15.5 meals. So because our millage rate is 15.5, even though we bring in less local net revenue, Whitfield County gets more equalization per pupil than we do because their millage rate's higher than ours. But yet our wealth rank is lower. That makes sense, but they take all those things into consideration. But we are in, if you looked at total net revenue, local revenue brought in versus our student population, we're in the lowest 20% of the state of Georgia, theoretically.
I think with the higher millage rate, they say you're trying to raise more money,
Yes.
so we're gonna help you out more because you have what you need. if you keep it lower, they say, well, you could raise your millage rate one way if you want to, but we don't want to do that, but that's where that works out, to where the higher millage rate.
You get, it's your current millage rate and your wealth rank, so the lower your wealth rank, which ours is pretty low, and then, but our millage rate is 15.5, so, the higher your millage rate, the lower your wealth rank, the more the state will provide you an equalization.
Tennessee did something, that's very similar to their BEP formula. For example, Knox County, Hamilton County, Shelby County, Memphis City, those were your big, huge school districts. And if they went by student population, all of the money would go to those districts because they got all the largest student base. So they had to equalize all the other districts by giving them a portion of money to make it equal to what the other large 3 school districts were going to get. So it's very similar to this. I put down there the actual QBE. If we look at the FY24 QBE of 49 million, and you can see the difference in the FY25 QBE, 53 million. The difference being they've got the increase on TRS that they're paying for certified, the increase on health insurance that they're paying on certified, and the $2,500 step that they're paying on certified. Okay? They don't pay it on classified, certified. Okay? So now, last time we went over a lot of the things that were below the line. Everything above the line, salary and benefits. So only tonight, I'm just gonna hit the ones that are highlighted because those are the only amounts that changed in the budget. So let's talk about this one for this very first highlighted area. And I know it's small over there for everybody else, but what we were able to do in that line item is we had to increase it in one amount. We had to add the payment that we're making to Mount Ed. And it came in at around $132,500. I know that we're negotiating that, we're talking about it, we're looking at it to make sure it's correct. But if that stands true, then I needed to put that amount in the FY25 budget so that we would have that there. Because that'll be something that we'll be paying next year.
So that pays teachers?
That pays for the service of students, Murray County students.
We have students that go to Mountain Ed, that's what we could pay.
Yes.
For them to attend Mountain Ed.
I'm sorry, what'd you say? Is it teachers or no?
No,
It's
they pay teachers.
Students.
It's students.
The cost of the students, it's our students, because the laws changed, they're called program students now that go there. And we earn the FTE dollars off of the students that go there.
We have to pay.
Yes.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
So in that same line item, we were able to lower the ESS contracted positions for 2 reasons. Number one is because Mike negotiated a decrease in the percentage that we pay above on the hourly rate. We were paying 32%, we got it decreased to 29%, and he worked and he got that done across the board. So on our subs, instead of 32% to ESS, when I talk about ESS, I'm talking about the contracting, not special ed, contracted. These are the parapros, these are the bilingual clerks, front office clerks. These are those positions that are distributed out into the school. And we're paying for 22 of them in this line item. And that line item was paying for 42 or 40 or so. But a large portion of those was getting paid from IDEA. And so we were able to pull that amount out, okay? So between the decrease in the percentage and not having to fund in Fund 100, in CARES, all of the positions were paid there. So when I brought that number over, it was paying for all the positions over on our side, but we were able to use that to look at only paying for our portion of those. Okay?
We were able to pull some go to special ed with Andrea, some go to pre-K
Yes.
with Amanda. and so it left us paying these. And in doing that, as we talked about some things coming up with pre-K, our ESS parapros work hand in hand with our kids every day. And they are not Murray County employees, they don't get some of the benefits that they do. So we've been talking for the last few months, what can we do for them to help them out? And so with the moving and shifting and the change with the billing percentage there, we don't know for sure because there's some pre-K questions we have to have answered from the state, but that number, even though it went down because the positions went and we moved them out, that number includes will be a good raise for our ESS parapros that are working with our kids every day. We just don't know the exact number yet because we have to figure some things out with the state, but we're excited about that.
Below that is where we had teacher substitutes, and we had originally at $450,000, and we have spent over $530,000. So those two numbers don't add up. But between the contract percentage going down from 32 to 29, and to take more, we've noticed a trend of subs being used going down. So we're hoping that we land at the 450 mark, okay?
Teacher absences went down, best we can tell, by about 25% this year, which is wonderful. You know, our administrators and our staff did a great job of working with those teachers to make them more aware of the days that they're missing, and because instruction is better when they're there. What happened is our fill rate got better. So they went from filling about 85% of the absences to filling 96% of the absences. So in the end, when we're talking about money, it's not how many teachers are out, it's how many subs actually fill the absence. We also had a lot, seemed like we had more, this is from ESS, the staffing service. We had more people doing long-term this year, which costs more. Some were doing long-term, which costs a little bit more. And so that's where we cut the number of absences, but we didn't quite see the difference in the money we were hoping to see. But the trend continues, we think that'll be a positive. Plus, we just think teachers in the building.
Well, don't they get X amount of dollars per day? No matter if they're long-term or short-term?
It varies depending on what they're doing, their certification. If I'm a long-term sub, I make more than a daily sub. If I'm a long-term certified sub, I make more than they do.
Okay.
If I'm a long-term, was it plus 20 days, Mike, I think, you get an extra per day on that, from 120 to 140, so there's some variance in that.
With 11 days.
Yes.
Okay. And then they get $10 per day to go for the summer.
That's the permanent position.
That's the permanent position.
Up there in that top line. Yeah, that line we were just talking about. They do get an attendance bonus.
They have an hourly rate, plus they get $10 extra a day. It really adds about $1. It's $1, yes ma'am. It adds $1.25 an hour essentially, so like their salary is one thing, but for little, it's $1.25 more if they're there, and that goes into that summer pay.
So that's, but our employees get paid through the summer because they're divided by 12. Their employees don't. So this helps them.
Inconsistent and it's still won't work, so you can't do that.
Yes, so this helps them offset and have some money in the summer.
Yeah.
The only other item that changed in that instruction function was the added back the CTA truck. So the $58,700 was added back for that CTA truck. So,
Hair in her truck.
So why did we go out last month that we didn't need it this month?
Exactly.
I'll let somebody else answer that.
But I thought we marked it off.
We marked it off, but what we did last month, when the budget before that was, I mean, it was in there, and then it was one of the things that was taken out, and the budget was what was the number? 2.1 million deficit, but when it was taken out, it wasn't reflected in the fact, you know, because it's really not a $52,000 expense. What you got is because you didn't account for the reimbursable mileage that you're gonna pay. So if you cost share that thing out over a 10-year period of time, net the mileage that I'm not paying, you're really over the period of time, which is what you're looking at, it's more advantageous to have it than it is not, because you're paying reimbursable mileage that, you know, you're just paying the employee to drive their truck, that's what you're doing.
So we think the payback's what, you said 10 years?
10, yeah, more, in 10 years, you will pay more than what the cost of that is.
Okay, they go to Perry, I looked at all those trips.
Yes.
Go to Perry a lot, and then the other, last month or sometime, y'all said something about going to Indiana to get goats.
Indiana,
Yes, so,
Texas,
Is there not any goats closer than Texas? I mean, are they special goats or something?
yeah, if you want to be competitive, you're going there to win.
You're gonna get the best goats, not the ones that come from Cutwater.
Well, we got the best goats, can we not breed the best goats?
That's a whole different animal.
Brenda, start breeding for us.
Well, it just seems like, I mean, we took it out and then ran it back, and, I mean, how many miles do you put on it in a year?
Well, the one that we currently have is at 150,000 miles, which really is, I mean, really over, I think it's an 02, you know, so it's an
Okay,
02.
right.
So, I mean, you could look at it like that, but it's just, the truck is not, they can't, it's not.
But now, is this truck driven every day?
Not every day, I would
Is it driven
say,
every
but
week?
yes, I would say they do. Mhm.
So where do y'all go every week?
So, different, I mean, whether it's picking up stuff, whether it's, and we've got Murray, we've got North Murray, it could be feed, it could be whatever they need, you know.
Going to get
supplies.
What supplies
And
for the
plus,
camera.
it's not just for ag. Ag will have, of course, priority for these trips. So it will also be for both CTA departments at both schools. So if you're looking at construction at Murray County High School, if he needs to go pick up lumber, he can use that truck versus his own vehicle to go get it. So it will be shared. It's not just gonna be sitting, and when ag doesn't use it, it's gonna sit. The other teachers will be able to use it at both high schools.
And they like to do like a requisition or something to get the key so they can take it? Is that what they do? They come to you and get the key?
No, I don't have it. I mean, they'll probably go to the ag teacher at the speech, whichever school has it.
Okay.
They'll get it. We'll find, I mean, both schools, I will say the whole entire CTA department, they work very well together at both high schools. Murray and North Murray does, so, which I'm very proud of them for that. So they'll just find the key, get the key. I mean, we're a small town, that's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
So, there's no need of me keeping the key, so
Right,
I just
well,
let it sit.
I didn't know.
Yeah, no, I just let them sit, I just let them keep it at the schools.
I don't think you'd had quite a bit of public
I
feedback.
had a lot of, I was very, surprised. I had a lot of public feedback in support of the truck. Like no one was upset, or I won't say or angry, but they were disappointed. They were disappointed that, you know, I was like, well, which to me, I just didn't want it to hurt the classes.
Right.
I want to take care of my teachers and my classes first. But this is also gonna take care of my CTA teachers on the side of going places and hauling, but I didn't want it to affect the classrooms.
I understand. And I'm all for our kids having
No,
whatever they need.
yes,
What
I know.
bothered me was that you took it out to kind of please us, and then you handed it back. That's what bothered me.
It wasn't, I'm gonna be honest.
I'm not saying you didn't tear, I'm just
No,
saying
okay.
that's the way it appeared.
Because I was gonna say, I don't want it to appear like that, because number one, first and foremost, if anyone knows me, I will fight for these kids.
Me too. You do me.
Yes, and I know, we've known
You
each
know,
other long
I
enough,
know.
so I'm gonna fight for these kids,
Yeah.
I'm gonna fight for our teachers. So, you know, so this is what it is, but, I mean, I was surprised that I did have a lot of, because we are an ag community, we have a large ag
Exactly.
community here, and so I got a lot of, like, hey, I hate that you did that, I hate you felt like you had to do that, you know,
Yeah.
so, public, you know, and I was glad people reached out to me, because I'll take it, you know, so.
Any other questions? Next, the pupil services function, there was a few things added onto that side. So on, up there above the line, you see that an enrollment center assistant has been added. And what this is moving somebody that is an enrollment clerk for ESS, being the contracted services, over to a Murray County School employee. So what they, pre-K and Tara have come to agree to do is charge pre-K 75% of that expense. And that will come out of the pre-K program money and charge the general fund budget 25% of that expense, which will come out of this budget moving forward, if that's what you choose to do. But that's basically $7,293 for the employee salary, and then it increases the benefit side and the Medicare side and the retirement side, and that's why those are highlighted. Because once you touch a salary, then those actually get touched too, because now this employee will have benefits, 25% of it paid from us, 75% paid from them. Same is true for Medicare and retirement.
And that's not a new position, it's just shifting the role.
It's somebody we already have.
Yes, ma'am.
Down below the line, it has SRO officers, so one of the things that I wanted to point out there is that in the first budget, we had SRO officers expensed, and down here in Chris's budget and maintenance, which is where we had originally had been told to put it, we also had the security grant money, okay? So we had security grant money down here, $495,000. We had SRO officers up here, around $380,000 at that time. That was the expense at that time. So both of those were in the budget. So since between the last time we met and now, the state has come out and said, this, you're gonna get $518,000 of security grant money, and you can use it to pay for SROs. So now, we need to take out those expenses and put it in the security grant line item, which you're gonna see in just a few minutes on further down, so that we only have the expenses of the SRO officers in there once, and we don't have two expenses in there for the same time. If we could not have used the security grant money for SROs, we would have had to continue to pay for SROs, and then we would have had to spend the security grant money. Everybody kind of follow me? So both expenses were in there. Now we can take them out, and now we have one expense for the security grant funds, okay?
That's a recurring grant.
I hope so, because they made a whole new function for it.
We're 2 years in a row now.
Yeah.
And with the new function, we think that's gonna be something.
Making that new function is a very good sign that they're gonna keep doing that.
So we were able to lower that line item. So down below that is computer software. And what was added to that line item was $16,250, and that is for the core curriculum for your severe and profound students, the Georgia Alternative Assessment. So they have to take an alternative assessment. This is the curriculum that they have to have by law. And Andrea negotiated it down from, it was way above 20, and she got it down to 16,250. And that money is added in that function, okay, to pay for that. Going on. The line item that's highlighted there is where we did have, in the last budget presentation, we had the salary of the part-time tribunal officer that was serving in that role, and so Mike is gonna take on that chairman position, and so we took out this 49% salary, basically $39,000. We took that salary out, because Mike will serve as the chairman, and we won't have that additional pay.
When that point, Nathan really did,
Yes.
so he's not gonna do it, Mike's gonna do it. Right.
Okay. And he was serving as a retiree, so he didn't have the benefits. So didn't change that in. There was nothing on these next two functions, nothing changed. It's exactly the way it was presented originally. When we get to the general administration, the next function, you'll see where the new contract for the superintendent is in there. You also see where the supplement for the assistant superintendent was removed. It was in there in the last presentation, and since that time, it's been moved out. So those are both reductions, and the health insurance is going to reduce because basically, it's reducing down. If there was an increase because you have some classified people that are paid in that same function, so their health insurance went up, but also by reducing down the position, the health insurance went down, so the net of that was $4,000 or so that was gained. Okay? So those are all reductions. There was nothing changed in the school administration, no changes there, nothing changed in our business and finance budget, nothing changed there. The maintenance and operations, so Chris was able to, if you remember last month or so, you approved for the position of the HVAC person. So the HVAC person is now on payroll, and he was able to end the contract with ABM. So previously, you've been paying $317,000 for that contract. That is all being done in-house now through maintenance, through his HVAC team. So now we're going to have a zero payment on HVAC contracts. So we were able to take out July's payment. We left July's payment in there just in case we needed it, but he's ended the contract. He's sending the thanks but no thanks letter. And so we got to put that money back in that surplus. So that's a savings of $27,000 there. Down below that next line item that's highlighted, that's where the security grant money was sitting. Okay, that's the other part of that expense. It was sitting at $495,000 was sitting there for the security grant. So we took that out so that we didn't have the expense in there twice. Okay, so that number has decreased, which decreased his overall budget significantly. So here's the security grant money. Here's where it was added back. So you can see that to pay for the SROs and to potentially use $100,000 of security grant money to repair the intercom system or replace the intercom system at North Murray High School. That's an estimate of what that expense could be. So if you pay the SRO officers and you do the intercom system, you're going to be around $700,000 in that line item, in that expense, okay, to do both of those. You're going to get $583,000 to go against that, so it's not a complete wash. But it almost pays for your entire SROs, the security grant money. So if you so choose to do the intercom, and that's a necessity, then you have it in the budget. You've got the money sitting aside in the budget to do it, but you're going to be the net of those two amounts. Okay, the difference between $583 and $700.
Does an intercom system not normally last longer than, how long have they been up there?
What we've been now about,
14 years?
yeah,
14 years.
14 years roughly. But the system they put in up there was the system is going out and we should be able to repair it. But the system that they have up there is the company that owns that company that put that in no longer is in service, so we can't get parts for it to repair anything on it. So our only option really is to replace it.
Next down here, the only thing that we were able to, that we did on the transportation function was that I had in there the bus monitors, assuming those were the bus monitors that ESS was providing us, that were our regular ed bus monitors, and they are not, they are special ed. So Andrea's covering the cost of those out of IDEA, so we were able to remove the $53,000 out of there. And she gains the benefit as well on her budget of going down from 32 to 29%.
Are those your parapros that's in the classroom that ride the buses?
No, they're just bus monitors. They ride morning and afternoon just on the special ed buses.
Gotcha. I just thought they might be doing double duty.
We have one that works for our system. in our office as a janitor, but, no, we actually have 2 janitors, I believe, that are bus monitors as well, for our special ed buses.
The last function down here is the support services central, which is the technology HR. And that's where, we've added some money there for district software. So the district software is down to a running list of everything that we think that we possibly could need. I'm not gonna say it's all inclusive. I'm not gonna say that I won't come up here and say, here's the software that I didn't add, and we still gotta pay for it. So that's why tonight I told you, this one's in the budget, this one's in the budget, this one's in the budget, okay? So if I stand up here and it's not in the budget, I'm gonna say this one's not in the budget. Okay, but this running line, that's why I wanted all the software as much as possible to be in one area, paid from one line item, so that it can be tracked, and that's what we're gonna be doing. FY '25, we've got software that we're canceling, we've got software that we need to include in those annual renewals. Some of them come right now for July, like we just approved, some of them come in September, some of them come in January. So this time next year, we're gonna know exactly how much software we need, exactly where we're spending it on, and we'll have a better grasp on that. But based on the software list we have, we should be able to do the majority, if not all, of our software out of this line item. So 31,000 was added in there to kind of marry up and tie up the loose ends on those software that might be floating out there that we didn't know about. And then the next line item is where I had the $100,000 for that intercom we just talked about. And so we took it out of that line item and moved it up here to the line item we just talked about. So it's not in there twice. So, if we get down to the end, here's where it shows that the current budget shows that the expenditures that we're in right now, that budget is around 75 million. The one we're going into, if approved, is at 77 million. Okay? So that is basically the updates to the budget as presented. Now, if you go back and you look at this sheet that you have, I'm going to go back to it just quickly, not go over it. But everything that I just talked about is in this summary. The deletions and the additions. And more, so that you know, if you have questions or you're looking at it, why did we do that? You can reference this. All the additions are highlighted. All of the deletions are highlighted in red, so you can show that that was taken out of the budget. The top line items were added to the budget, and the revenue down there is in green, so that's additional money that we were able to add to the revenue side. So that's where the $1.5 million comes from. That's how we're presenting it to you. That as we stand right now, we have that 77 million in expenditures, and we got 76 million in revenue.
We will have a decrease in, I guess, tech, whatever it is, the software or whatever. Did we say that we were going to reduce the K through 3 Chromebooks? And when does that?
Well, what you don't have to do in that budget right there is you don't have to purchase any Chromebooks that we spent for, well, what would we spend, $500,000? $550,000 on Chromebooks. Well, that was based upon the original technology plan of being 1-to-1, which is what we are next year. But looking ahead, and that's what everybody's got to decide in kindergarten, first grade, how are we going to use those? If we can still do 1-to-1, that's what the principal did. We got into a discussion about that, about scheduling, how we're going to work all that out. And so that's the thing going forward. You don't have to spend any money on Chromebooks for about another couple of years because you've already got it. But then what you're gonna do going forward in year 2 or 3, it depends on the technology,
So
what you're
it'll
gonna
be 2
do.
or 3 years before the
Yes.
software starts getting also.
Well, if you're talking about the software.
Software, I'm talking about.
Software is
software in
the
that
whole
line,
district.
That's more district that
That's
everybody
district.
uses, not necessarily dependent on Chromebooks.
Yeah, the Chrome, yeah, I'm sorry, I was thinking, the software just goes to, that's what's gonna be a recurring expense to run everything you've got.
But we are watching and cut some things out this year, and we're looking at usage rates. Some of that stuff has been shifted back to the school level. In that budget, each school has money to spend for general things. So there's some things that we weren't providing at the district level that the schools can now choose if they want to or not, to where it's gonna take a large cost off, because we may not need, every school may not want that, every grade level may not want it. But 7th grade at Gladden might want progress learning, they can pay for that out of the money that's allocated into the school versus us paying the entire district to have it that way. So we're trying to be a little more surgical about some of those. And then we can watch usage rates and then say, okay, this one we're not using that much, which is what they did this year, and they were able to take some off. But some of those are core things that gaggle, you know, if some of those core things we just can't touch. But there are some areas where we can tweak it.
How much, you mentioned the schools paying for outdoor money, how much does each school get? Is it by population? How is it decided how much money you're going to give Spring Place, how much you're going to give Coker? How do you do
We've
that?
got it in the budget, as the schools will receive money. We do have it down there by so much by FTE.
That's kind of the plan we have.
Currently. We want to be able to help them as much as we can. But it's not gonna be the surplus that they had when we had that extra money.
Right, right.
But they will, each school will be getting an allocation, and when we get that final amount figured out, then we can present
Will it
to
be
them.
by this last FTE count for next year? Is that how they'll do it?
Actually, it's probably by their April count, October or April.
Well, that's what I meant, this.
The last budget that we have in there is the school nutrition budget, and just like with all the other budget issues that we have, they too have the large majority of their expense is salaries, benefits, and food. So those 3 things have gone up significantly: salaries, benefits, and food. And so that's over 75 to 80% of the school nutrition budget. And so what Amanda has put together is a good analogy of how much she anticipates collecting in revenue. But you can see that there again, her expenditures are going to surpass her revenue by nearly almost $1 million. And what can help to deter that is if she, even though the students are all on free, it all comes down to meals. If everybody's free, but everybody doesn't get a meal, then you don't get those free dollars. Okay?
Yeah.
It's still on how many meals, how many breakfast meals are served, and how many lunch meals are
So
served.
teachers need to really encourage those kids to take a meal.
Yes.
Even if they brought their lunch, take a meal.
And the
Well, I said, oh, they won't bring their lunch. Right, but, you know, there's some.
So that's what I'm thinking, so if you have a food bill and you're not being charged, your kids aren't paying for the food, so the federal government's just giving you money to pay for food but not charging us to feed the kids? I mean,
they're supplementing you to feed the kids.
It's a subsidy program, so for every child that eats, we get a dollar amount back. They've not even released what it is for next year, but it's probably somewhere around $4.25 per meal that we'll get back for that. And then that goes in our bank, and then we just buy the food. Food costs are astronomical.
Yeah.
Of course, it's gonna go up because we hope more kids will eat, so we're gonna buy more food also.
that's right, yeah.
So it's a twofold, and then of course they haven't released the reimbursement rate. We didn't really know how to calculate the revenue because we don't know what's gonna happen. we tried to go back to 2021 when we were free to see how many kids, and it dropped about 15% once we went off free. So we were really anticipating, but we didn't go all the way up to 15%, so we have no way of knowing that. So hopefully, it definitely will be a lot more than what I predicted, the revenue side of it.
And these, dues and fees that are on here, is that amount like unpaid lunches that people?
No, no,
Okay.
there's nothing about unpaid lunches in here, nothing.
But we have those.
We pay, we pay,
We pay.
we pay.
We-
General fund pays.
You can't,
She cannot
We
have.
can't have
negative
bad
balances.
debts.
But you, and you can't, we talked about this before, you can't, I mean, I know you send letters or whatever to parents, or they send those things, I guess, but you can't, that's about all we can do. Like, if they don't pay, they don't pay.
Pretty much, yeah,
$15,883 is what we're
this year.
getting ready to write our check for. Out of the general fund.
So we won't have that for 4 years.
Yeah, we'll have that for 4 years.
That, you know, mine would always want to eat if they got a sticker or something.
Yes.
Something, but they didn't, then why'd you get it and I didn't?
But keep in mind that if there's a snow day, a bad weather day, school's called off for any reason, they don't have any meals served, they get no revenue. But the expense of that salary continues. Okay? It's one of the worst things the USDA, I've argued it at the state level, that USDA is funded to provide this funding to schools, but if there's a day that school's out, they don't provide any funding. Even though the expense is still there.
And during COVID, when school was out, they let us set up and feed meals from home.
Home,
Because one of the teachers asked me last year, well, it's distance learning day, can we not send the food home? I went, no. It's not COVID anymore, all those waivers are gone, you know. And kids aren't hungry anymore, I don't know.
Yeah.
When we're out.
You get money for your summer program.
Yes, absolutely, yes, and, yes.
So every time a student's in the building, they need to be eating breakfast and lunch, and she won't have that deficit.
That's right. And they won't be hungry and they'll learn better, that's the whole, that's right.
That's it for me. If you have any more questions.
Anybody have a question?
Let me just say something, just to make clear, back in late April, when it was going around that we were in a $6 million deficit, and this board and this school system called a bunch of hullabaloo about it. And you explained at the budget hearing why that happened, why it was like that. Nothing had even been done basically yet, except you just put the COVID stuff in, and that's where it come from. We knocked it down, or I should say, y'all knocked it down to $2.1 million deficit after the budget. Now we have knocked it down to 1.5. I think that's pretty darn good for what all we
Can you turn that up on that?
Yeah. From 6 million, which shouldn't even start in the first place, down to 1.5. That's pretty good. And for everybody that was involved in the budgets, from the administrators, from the directors, to the central office, to the staff, thank you.
Basically, where you're at under your financial position, you go back and look, you're right where you were before COVID, in about 2018 or 19 from a fund balance. Where you there was no crisis with that. Let's move on to this.
I read it.
No, the first thing we got some field trips. You see there, under student achievement and success, if, Dr. Kelly or whoever.
Are we ready?
Yeah, y'all go ahead, come on up here, we got some field
Lord, all
trips.
these CTAE kids, they're gonna be going
High
to
school
truck.
field trips, CTA field trips, all that is there. If anybody has any questions on this, you got some camps, and then you got the big list. Now, bear in mind, we try to get capture everything that you possibly, that I've told Tara, and told Eddie. If you think you might go to a contest, put it in there. Because if it's approved, you can go, but if you don't wanna go, or if it's something you don't have a team, or you don't go, you don't go. So it's not that way right there, so. That's all the tips for most of them for the year. All right, so, you got any questions about field trips or, CJ field trips, high school camps and stuff? All right.
You ready for
I'm
us?
ready, we're ready.
So tonight, what we're going to do is to give you an abbreviated look at our spring data, okay? We are meeting, administrative team, Tim Spencer and myself are meeting with our iReady folks on Wednesday to have a little bit of a bigger picture. But we wanted to share with you what we have currently. And then, of course, in July, we'll bring more data back to you. But this is just a quick look and an overview at how we ended up this school year. So I'm not going to show you everything, but I do want to highlight a few things. And I've given you slide by slide so you can see exactly. Sometimes that's a little bit difficult to see. So the first thing we wanted to share with you were some benchmark comparisons. And so what you guys are looking at, just to refresh your memory, the color code is really important, okay? So the dark green is our percentage of students who are mid-year and above grade level. The light green is early on, grade level. The yellow students would be considered 1 year behind. The light pink is 2 years, and then the dark red would be 3+ years behind. Okay.
Could you say that one more time?
Yeah.
The dark green is above grade level.
Mid-grade level and above, Brenda. The
Mid
light.
and above.
Mid and above.
Okay. And
The green is early on, early to mid grade level. The yellow would be considered
1 year.
1 year.
Grade level.
Yes.
Okay, and the yellow's 1 year
1
behind.
year behind, and then
Pink, light pink.
2+, 2, and then the dark red is 3+. What you guys are looking at currently is if you'll start on the far left-hand side. You've got some national data first, okay? So all students across the United States that test using iReady, this is where this data is coming from. If you'll look at that third bar over, these are the students in Georgia. So when we're looking at how our students in Murray County are doing against students in Georgia. And then that district bar shows you our students in comparison to the students across the state. And you can see that we tested about 4,172 students in math. And then on the far right-hand side, you guys will see that in reading, okay? So you can see how we're comparing against students. This is our district, so make a note somewhere on here. This is looking at K through 8 students. There's a handful of students in high school that take iReady, but it really doesn't filter into this data. But
The
this
far
is-
left column, the one that says national norm, that was the norm rate they set pre-COVID. They're getting ready to re-norm all of that. That's not students that took the test this year or anything like that. You wanna look at that national year to date and the Georgia year to date. Those are the kids that took the test with us. That norm rate is where they kinda set their baselines at back in 18, 19, pre-COVID. So that stays the same every year, just as you look at it, because it looks like it blends in with it.
So if you'll notice in math and reading collectively, we did really well. We did really well compared. Now it says math at the top, but Brenda, you'll notice one side is math and then that right side is reading.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions on this one? I think it's really encouraging. Okay. So the next one you have is by grade level. Okay, so the same exact, now this is math specifically. So if you guys will notice at that far right hand at the top, this is math. And we're looking at the breakdown by grade level. So you'll also notice, as we have grown in the light green and the dark green, we have reduced the numbers of students who are behind. And so when you think about the investment that you've made in those interventionists, we are beginning to see some real movement in those students who are multiple grade levels behind. But I think in all these, since you ran these, we did very well against the national norm and against the state, students in the state. Kindergarten, first and second grade. You guys this one. Any questions here? All right. And then you'll see third, fourth, and fifth grade as well. With our spring data.
What's the red box for?
Brenda, our folks that already shared these with us early, so I think this is something that Debbie has in there to draw our attention when she comes back on Wednesday. Just to talk with us, just to show the reduction. So for instance, if you look at fifth grade, that's pretty significant, reducing those multiple grade level. The other thing to think about is these cohorts of students are going to be those COVID babies.
That's what I was fixing to ask. So these COVID babies would be fourth grade now?
And they missed kindergarten or first grade, they missed those formative early years.
And I remember us saying when we started the interventions that this was the cohort we needed to watch. Basically, I mean,
and
to
those
see
are
what's
moving
growth
into
was-
second and
yeah.
third grade, as well, but these are the ones that were at home.
And it's the group we've seen the most struggle with across all of our data.
Yeah.
But the reality is, so did the state.
Right,
So did the
everybody.
nation. So we've got to do some work in that area, so we can get those kids. We're reducing the number of kids that are behind. We've got to catch those kids that are in the middle and get them back on and above grade level.
And one of the things that I will mention that's a big part of our strategic plan as we move forward is focusing on those students in the yellow. That we've put a lot of emphasis and effort to close those multiple grade level gaps. And now we've got to really start focusing on those yellows.
Okay, what I'd like to know sometime is where were that I want to see last year's to compare to this year's. That's what I want to see.
And Debbie will share that with us, Brenda, she just didn't have that.
Okay.
So that's why we will bring more to you guys,
Okay.
In July.
Because you got apples to apples.
Exactly. And cohort to cohort, and that's what you can look at. You really can't do it, I mean, you can to some degree, but, next time we come, we'll have that cohort data for you. The next one.
There's
six,
the middle
seven,
schools, and just looking at mid or above, and you look at that compared, all three of those, there's a significant difference in Murray versus the state. Also, if you just look at the dark red, those are three or more grade levels behind, you'll notice it's half. Murray County seventh grade is 16% compared to Georgia's 30%. So there's some outstanding results. And back to the first one, Kelly was talking about math and reading. One of the things you'll see overall K-8 that compared to the state and compared to the nation, we did better in math than reading. And so
we're excited to move into this next adoption year.
So I think that will help tremendously.
But even if you look at like seventh and eighth grade, I mean, 37% of the Georgia students are falling multiple grade levels behind, and we're at 18%. So we are closing those grade level gaps. Okay, here's our reading, broken down. By grade level, so you can see how we're doing against students in the state of Georgia. Very small percentage of our students are sitting in multiple grade levels behind. That's why we're so excited about those yellow students now. It's time to really hunker down and support those students. Third, fourth, and fifth, again, this is that cohort, as Dr. Wright said, it's not just Murray County, it's all of the students who were affected during that period of time. You can see here, and we do know that our data is, we're gonna have to really look at fourth and fifth grade. We're gonna dig in, because it's just critical that we get that gap closed for them, before they move into middle school.
Are you going to tell us Monday about the last year's, if she gives that to you?
She will be here Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have curriculum training Brenda on Monday,
Okay.
and Debbie will be here Wednesday with
Okay.
the administrators.
So then the next month.
Yes.
This will be this is a reading for the 6, 7, 8. Not as pronounced as the math, but you'll still see outperforming the state in the red, and the mid or above. It's not as significant, but positive.
And it's also interesting
not just our Murray County students who are struggling, but it's sort of systematic across the state and nation when we think about the reading ability of our students at that age.
Here's where those norms kick in too, because when you see those norms back in 1819, that's kind of where the nation was at that time, and you see where the nation is now. So we talk about learning loss and the things that go from there from COVID. That gives you a little bit of picture, based on iReady, what the difference looked like pre-COVID to what it is now from a national standpoint. But we're outpacing that with the growth.
Well, it also mirrors the NAEP test that they did as well. So all the data triangulates milestones, iReady, NAEP. It's all very consistent.
Okay, so that is proficiency, but it's also important to look at our growth. And so this is a little bit of a snippet of how we did on our growth data, and Brenda, this may be something that you were particularly interested in as well, that you were asking about. So when you look at this data, it's important to remember that this is the median student, okay? You are not looking at a grade level, you are looking at the student in the middle, how that student did, which means that about 50% of the students represented did better than this, and then about 50% performed lower than the median student, okay? So, that's not that one, so let's keep going, yeah. So, this is a year ago, okay? How we did, this is math by grade level, and remember, it's not the grade level, right? It's the median student in kindergarten, the median student in 6. So, half of them did better than this, and then half of them performed below this. But this is where we were in growth. So you've got high performance, high growth, low performance, high growth, low performance, low growth, and then high performance, low growth.
And keep in mind that performance, high performance, low performance is informed by that 2018, 2019 norm data that we saw on the other one, and we saw how much better it was overall. So all these other systems in the state and the nation, their stuff is going to look similar in that they're going to be showing as lower performing because it's being compared against that data, that pre-COVID data. It'll be interesting to see what happens when they renorm it, how it kind of shifts in there. So what we look at here is really the growth above that midline. Are we growing, comparatively speaking, at a high level, or that middle student? But that's a good picture of the grade level.
And of course, we know 4th and 5th grade. That's not a surprise. We know that is certainly an area that we need to hunker down and really look at. So this is a year ago in math, okay? And then this is this year in math, how we ended the year. So you can see, that's really impressive, isn't it? It is.
It's really a change much.
4th grade is still struggling.
We had some more kick over into the high performance side there, and we've got all but one grade level showing, or median child showing above the growth level compared to high growth.
And this growth measure is similar to the student growth percentile that they use with milestones. You want to be in the upper right quadrant, so it's the same sort of statistical process for our CCR guide.
Okay, and then this is reading. Again, you're looking at the median student a year ago, kindergarten, of course, square one now.
Can you go back just a minute? I just want to make sure I understood this right. Go back to 14, 15? No, I want to go 14 and look. Look at 8th grade.
Yes.
Okay, it's at 200. But then at the end of the year, it had dropped down.
Well, this is spring last year.
Two different years.
Spring.
Two different
And
years.
2 different groups.
And
Yes.
2 different groups.
Never mind then.
Yes. And Brenda, thank you, and you guys might want to make a note on that it is not the same group of students.
Right, yeah.
Correct. It's not the same group of students. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Here's reading, Spencer, go back on you, if you don't mind. A year ago, again, remember, different group of kids. And then how our students finished this year in reading. Different group of students. And Steve, one of the things I know that you've always asked about is our kindergartners perform really well, but it seems like our first graders
but you'll notice where our first graders are in this quadrant. And that's really, that's impressive. So now we've got seventh grade, as they're moving into eighth grade, we know that that's an area of concern, and so we can be real strategic about providing that support. Yeah, and again, remember, when you guys look at this, half of the students did better than this. This is not the grade level, this is the median student, so about 50% more did better than this.
Will it be the fall before y'all can give like the milestones, since the math isn't coming back like so quickly?
You could share the other before that, as long as it's part of the planning process, it's not embargoed from that. So the boards of education can use that for planning. You can use the ELA and science and social studies even before you wait on the math. Because it may be October, I heard the other day, it could be October.
And the public presentation was hard because we have to wait till the state to take out certain kids that don't fit in there because they weren't here all year, the minimum number of seat time they had to have. We have a good sense of where we are. We know it will adjust a little bit as it goes. We just can't share that stuff out because it's not all the way accurate.
Like, the state won't let you share, right? Like
It's
it's,
still embargoed.
okay.
Yes. You said 50% are better, but 50% are lower too.
And we know that this gives us a good picture of where the support is needed.
Right.
And that is what milestones is at sort of the end of the year, it's too late to do anything about it. Already gives us an ongoing look at how we're doing in those areas. So we wanted to bring this to you guys tonight and then give you just a little look, and we'll bring some more in-depth information next time so you can watch those cohorts as they move. Any questions? Thank you, guys.
All right, next we have our board policy, GHGARH, regarding employee leave.
3 years ago, the General Assembly passed a law that provided for 120 hours of paid parental leave for either fathers or mothers of newborn children under certain circumstances and conditions. This past spring, the legislature added basically 3 more weeks, and now they're allowed to do 240 hours instead of 120 hours. So we had added back in 21 a provision to show that new law of paid parental leave. The only change is that we're just changing the 120 hours to the 240 hours.
Not too many days, did you say, or weeks, how many is that now?
Well, it's in 9-hour days, it comes to 13 and a third days and 120, so it's 26 and 2/3 days. So just short of 6 weeks. And surprise, surprise, that's unfunded. They make us pay, but they say they don't have money for it. But anyway, it is what it is. So that's the policy change. And this will be the first reading. Do the second one Monday, and then the third one, I guess, in work session in July. It's going to take effect July 1. Okay. Any questions?
All right. Next is the superintendent contract for Dr. Wright. We had originally planned on doing this Monday night, but he is going to be gone, so we figured he might want to be here or not for it, so. We're going to do it tonight, so I think Aaron, you there? Okay. All right. Somebody want to, I make a motion that we approve Dr. Tim Wright as our new superintendent beginning July the 1st of 2024.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Conrad, a second by Kelly, all in favor? Okay.
Thanks, Aaron. Bye.
Congratulations. All right, need a motion that we go into executive session. Motion by Brenda, second by Dwayne, all in favor, we're in executive session.